Screenwriting is not easy, and I'm sure we can all benefit from a lot of the insights, wisdom, and advice that screenwriters who have been writing for decades can give to us to help us along the journey and help us let go of some of those fears and constraints we may be placing on ourselves so that the ideas, the writing, the creativity can all flow a lot better. So I've compiled a list of 5 pieces of writing advice from well-established writers. These 5 tidbits have helped me a lot during my writing, and I hope they can help you too. First one I have is from writer and director Greta Gerwig. She says, "Think character, think plot, think theme, but when you sit down to write a scene, feel." So when you're screenwriting and you have a very strong vision of how a certain scene should play out, don't worry about how it's going to fit into the overall story. Just write it. Act on that inspiration. A lot of the times when I'm writing, I have an idea of how something's going to play out, but I don't know how it's going to fit into the overall story. But I write it, I get it down on the script, and then later I come back to it and I say, oh, that's why I had that idea. And I think it's because a lot of writing is subconscious. You know your story better than anyone else. So there's a reason why you're feeling those visions or you're feeling those instincts inside of you. So trust those, act on them, and like Greta Gerwig says, just feel it out. Next one is from Tarantino. In this one, he talks about how he lets characters write the screenplay at a certain point in the script.
By the time you get to the middle of the story, well, now you know so much more. The hope is that the characters just take it from me.
And I kind of think of this like a wind-up toy. The wind-up toy is you wind it up, and once you're done, you kind of just let it go, and then it goes and it moves on its own. So the way this tip has really helped me is to just ask myself, well, what does the character want? Let the character have a life of their own. Let them write the script, because if you do that, then you're going to get more authentic writing. You're going to get more realistic writing according to your story, according to your narrative, according to the world that you've set up. And it also, again, it helps that flow of creativity, that flow of ideas just funnel through you a lot more effortlessly. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to overanalyze it. You kind of just let the characters do the writing. And again, that comes from trust in that instinct. The third one I have here is from the writers of South Park. They say that in between each scene, you want a but or therefore, not an and then.
That you come up with an idea and it's like, okay, this happens, right? And then this happens. No, it should be this happens, and therefore this happens. But this happens, therefore this happens.
And this has been really helpful for me when I notice in my script if things aren't feeling right, if I feel like things are slowing down, if things don't have that kind of climactic rise in tension that I want to have throughout the script. I notice that, there's not a clear domino effect happening throughout this script. And then I can go back and see, okay, well, I have these scenes next to each other, and I like them how they are, but how can I create more of a direct relationship between them in terms of conflict and, again, that domino effect that's happening, so that there can be an escalation of conflict and an escalation of stakes for the viewer, for the reader, for the story's sake. The fourth one I have is from Steven Pressfield from his book called Put Your Ass Where Your Heart Wants to Be. And before I get into this, Steven Pressfield's amazing. I highly recommend you check out Steven Pressfield and his work, because a lot of his writing has helped me a lot with overcoming resistance, understanding it, the root of fear, and then overcoming that by just creating in the face of fear itself. And for this piece of advice, he explains the title actually of this book. When we say put your ass where your heart wants to be, we mean station your physical body in the spot where your dream work will and must happen. The simple act of just moving your body into the physical space has a tremendous power. Because a lot of us, at least for me, I'm only going to start writing if I feel good about it. I'm only going to start writing that script once I have an idea. But if you just force yourself to open that laptop, open that script, you can have a lot of faith in that simplicity of moving your body into that physical space. Because what'll happen is you're mastering your mind. You're moving your body, and then so therefore your mind is likely going to follow, right? Because your mind is holding your body back. So if you can move your body, no matter what your mind is telling yourself, then the mind and the imagination will follow after. If you feel that resistance, if you feel that writer's block, just move in the face of it anyway. Move into that physical space, and you'll see some magic happen. The fifth and last one I have is from David Fincher, and he says that I like characters who don't change. As I'm editing this video, I am now remembering that David Fincher does not write his scripts, but it can be argued that since he does pick his scripts to direct, he still has some kind of merit in screenwriting and determining what's good writing according to him, and I still think my points resonate. But yeah, sorry about that. forgot. There's so many different constraints and rules and structures, and a lot of these things we read about how screenplays should be structured. And not to bash on rules, because I think rules have a lot of great benefits, they're things that have stood the test of time, and they clearly are very valuable as guidelines and help us realize maybe why we don't like a script. Phineas actually said something I really liked in one of his interviews, where he said there's a difference between what is good and what you like. If a certain scene in your script feels off, you can look to those rules, like the but and then therefore, that rule from the South Park writers. You can look to a rule like that and be like, I see, that's what's missing in my script, that's why it doesn't feel right to me. If you feel strongly about a scene and you really like it and you think it's creatively right, but it contradicts a certain rule that you might be aware of, that's not a time to let that transcend your intuition. So like Fincher says, he likes characters that don't change. All we read about and learn about with characters in screenplays is change, is that they have to change, is that circumstances force them to change. And even something like that is so ingrained in traditional screenplay, traditional drama principles, even something like that can be broken. So again, to wrap up this piece of writing, look to rules as things that can help you understand why you're not feeling a certain part in your script or a certain part in your writing. But again, don't let that control the art. You have to do whatever you feel is creatively right. You have to trust that intuition and use rules however you want. I hope that these pieces of writing help you like they helped me. Please comment down below. Let me know what you thought of any of these rules. And let me know if you're interested in more videos like this one. Check out my other social medias right there. And I will see you next time.